Yeah. Hello. It's been a while. How you doing? This video is just basically going to be like a stream of consciousness, sort of like life update. Because a lot has happened since the last time I made a video, and I don't know who really watches these videos. But I've noticed that like other people, when they make videos like this, like kind of video diary, sort of like life update videos, it seems to be like at least somewhat therapeutic, because I think it makes people like kind of like objectify their life circumstances, not objectify in like a weird kind of way, but like it makes them think about their life circumstances a little bit more objectively. Sumac tree. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm seeking to do here, because the last time I made a video, one of these videos, it was September, and things at that point were very different. I had like long hair. Now I obviously have pretty short hair. My mom cut my hair recently. She does a very good job. And yeah, some stuff kind of went down. So I guess just to give like context, because I haven't really explained this. Oh, hey, trucks, vans, two vans. I haven't really explained this at all, really. But in April, I started my own business. Very unexpectedly. If you can start a business by accident, that is exactly what I did. Because my own painting business, because I was working for somebody else, and I grew somewhat discontent with that situation, and so I yeah, it's a long story. So yeah, pretty much literally overnight, I became my own boss, and I owned a business. And that was not something that I was ready for. That was not something that I ever really saw myself doing. That was never really something that I anticipated having to do, especially not as quickly as I had to do it. I pretty much had to learn all of these different like professional skills and how to, like, I don't know, like invoice people and stuff. Yeah, within like a couple of weeks, and that was incredibly stressful, and led to me, by the end of the summer, by about September, really reaching a point of burnout, and all of my relationships in my life definitely took a hit. And Yeah, I was coping like really hard in retrospect, and it's funny because like when I look back on all those videos that I was making, I think a lot of them were really for me. Granted, like they were realizations and things I was having and thoughts I was having, kind of on the fly, and and there were things I definitely felt like I needed to share. But I think really in earnest, they were for me, and for me to kind of like look at and be like, okay, no, like you realized this at one point, and now you need to realize it again, because you got to remind yourself of certain things every now and then. So yeah, basically I became a business owner overnight. It was incredibly stressful. My survival was pretty much like, yeah, was like my number one priority, because it's like I wasn't ready to do that, and so I had to do it in a very kind of desultory, I don't know, way, and yeah, and I was able to sustain myself for a little bit, and again, just certain complications in relationships, and a lot of my relationships, my personal relationships, took a hit, and I ran into certain conflicts with people in my life that previously I had the time to I had the time to have conversations about him, but at this point I wasn't really able to do that. And so instead of like, hey, that thing that you did really upset me, and I prefer you to never fucking do it again, please, it became like, oh fuck, I can't go into that right now because I'm just so overwhelmed trying to like maintain my survival, that like any deviation from this like baseline of comfort, which is really non-existent at this point, is just it would just push me over the edge. And so yeah, so like I felt myself becoming like less emotionally intelligent, and it was really shitty because it ended up with me not being a great friend. Yeah. And now just so much time has passed, I like have no idea where to begin with repairing some of those friendships or addressing certain issues within some of those friendships. Like I said, this is a stream of consciousness. I'm just like going. So yeah, so then yeah, that was the summer. That was, yeah, freaking, yeah, dude, that was like 4-5 months of my life, just like, basically, I think it might have shaved years off my life, actually. It definitely put some more gray hairs on my head. I don't know. Definitely put some gray hairs in my beard. I don't know if you can see. Growing a beard out for the winter. You can kind of, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, so, oh, that guy's a feather on his windshield. That's nice. Yeah, and then just like a number of things in my living situation kind of happened, and I got these new neighbors, and they were not like me and my old neighbors were very cool. We were always, we would hang out and stuff. And then these new neighbors moved in, and I just didn't feel safe around them. And so then my living situation kind of felt like sort of insecure. Hold on, let me take a sip of my water. Just drinking water today. I'm gonna go on a bike ride in a moment. So yeah, living situation was then weird. And then I went on this trip with my dad out to Idaho because my cousin got married out to Idaho. And I had a bunch of, different, kind of epiphanies on that trip, just spending time with him and my family. And another thing contextually is that, like, I was living, which I'm going to get, I was living in my hometown where, I had grown up, and so I had a lot of baggage kind of tied to being there, and a lot of relationships that I had over the years that had either gone awry or had changed in a way that made me uncomfortable. Just, everybody has a weird relationship with their hometown, I think. And I am no exception to that at all. I just couldn't handle it after a certain point. So yeah, I basically realized, I was like, I want to be closer to my family. Now my family last year moved to the Portland area, which is where I am now. I can't tell you where exactly I am at the moment, although I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how committed to finding out anybody is, but anyway, yeah, the Portland area. And so I love Portland, Maine. It's a great city. It's like, I went to school here for a little bit when I was a lot younger, and yeah, so my parents moved down here last year, and just spending time away from my hometown and kind of going to a newer place was just something that was very, I felt a lot of relief in doing that. Knock on wood. 1, 2, 3, 4. Man, this is like one hair that's like going up into my nostril from my mustache. So, yeah, basically I just like, I got back to Maine, back to my hometown, after that trip. And I was like, man, fuck this place. Like, I need to get out of here. What am I doing? And so I, at that point, made the decision that I had to leave, and moved to Portland, moved to like an area closer to my parents, and so on. And so I began that process. And then there was this, like, I had this apartment lined up, and then basically, like, last minute, like the apartment sort of like fell through, and I was like, okay, cool. And like, you know, I obviously I'm an independent, you know, I work, I'm my own boss now. So I was like, okay, I'd like to keep that going because, you know, while it was incredibly stressful and I was getting used to it and stuff, I was getting better at it with time. And I'd like to continue doing it because it allows me to have a level of freedom that I've never had with a job before. And so, yeah, just like trying to line up work and advertising and stuff. So, yeah. Yeah. And so now I am living with my parents, and I don't have any work lined up at the moment because I decided to move in November because my lease was up in December anyway. So I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna do that. And yeah. You know, that's what's going on. And I'm also like trying to navigate certain relationships with people who like who don't have as much of a place in my life anymore. And it's like hard because it's like I love them, but it's also like I don't know how to tell them that I don't, you know. So it's just a number of things. It's always a number of things with people. That's the one thing, like whenever you see somebody having like kind of a bad or weird day and they may be acting like kind of a dick, like, yeah, fuck them for like, you know, externalizing that in like a volatile way, and informing like an unkind or, you know, cruel action, of course, but like also there's so much more to people than like we realize. That's not an excuse. Like you should not act awful, lashing out at people. You should not do that, really, ever, if you can. But it's like there are so many like layers to the things that people feel, and there are so many layers to the things that like make people, like people, I think it's called Zonder, I don't know if that's the case, but like people have such fucking like active inner worlds that like you really don't know what's going on with that person. Like you could pass a person on the street and you just have no idea what's going on in their minds, and it's like scary sometimes, but it's also kind of beautiful because it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And like being in a city kind of like really reiterates that, at least to me. Because I mean, I went from like interacting with the same, I don't know, like 15 people. Like I lived in a town of like less than 10,000 people to, you know, yeah. Apologize for the sniffling. I'm kind of fighting some off, I think. But anyway, I'm living with my parents again at 28, and that's fucking weird because it's like, because it's like, you know, you make all like, again, like I'm my own business owner. Like I'm my own boss. I lived on my own for 2 years, and I'm my own person. Like it's, you know, I moved out when I was 19, you know, and I like only intermittently stayed with my parents for like a couple months at a time. And each time it's gotten hotter and hotter and hotter. And so it's like coming back at like approaching 30, I'm just full on, like I've just been my own person. And now it's like, I sort of feel like, in an odd way, people keep walking in the woods over there, and I'm wondering if there's like a walking path or something. I'm just gonna take my bike on this like little walking trail thing in a sec, but I wonder if there's another one. It doesn't look like there's a path or anything. Anyway, it's weird going back to living with your parents after being on your own for a long time, and you know, being your own person. And I'd be lying if I said it was like something that I was totally cool with, because again, I had this like job, or not job, this apartment lined up that fell through at the last minute, for reasons that were not really my fault. Again, it was like the guy who I was talking to, he just like, he gave it to someone else because they were like a family friend, and he was like, and so I was like, man, it really is about who you know. So it's like uncanny, because you feel that all of this personal development has transpired in the time that you've been away from your parents, and then you go back to living with them and you're like, oh, these people still see me as being like a fucking kid. And it's like, how could they not? Like, you're their offspring, you are their offspring. Yeah, you're their offspring. You are their kin who they raised. And yeah, I would probably do the same thing if I had a kid. But to be on the receiving end of that, you know, and again, like, I don't mean to sound like I'm being ungrateful at all, because I love my parents. My parents are good people, and holy shit, am I grateful for the fact that not only have they, you know, allowed me to move back in with them. A lot of people don't have that. A lot of people don't have that kind of support structure. But also, it's like approximate to the area that like I want to move to. It's like, yeah, it's like down the road. You know, and they've said, you know, you don't have to pay rent or anything. And I'm like, ugh. I'm just like, it's weird to me, because I'm like used to having to do that. I'm used to having to pay my own bills. I'm used to having to like go grocery shopping, and now I'm not. And I feel like it's like weird internal like infantilization, I guess. And I'm like, I don't know if that, I gotta wrap this up, because I feel like I'm just gonna, for those of you who have had the patience to sit through this kind of diatribe, or whatever this has been, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're in the US, happy belated Thanksgiving. I appreciate you listening to this. And yeah, ooh, septic service. Again, I don't know if any of that made any sense, but be good, okay?